Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Cabinet in the Community. Those of you who are residents of Council District 1, won't you give yourselves a round of applause? Again, thanks for coming out. My name is Gus Augustus, and I will be serving as the moderator for this evening tonight. We have an exciting forum, which will conclude with a breakout session. And rather than go into much detail at this time, it is my honor and privilege to present to you the mayor of the beautiful city of Baltimore, Mayor Stephanie Rawlings-Blake.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Gus. So I'd like to begin by thanking everyone at Cristo Rey for allowing us to use their facilities this evening. They are very generous with their space and in the community, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. I also want to acknowledge your Councilman Jim Kraft, who is here. I feel like I'm taking a time warp. You shaved. I didn't even recognize you. But thank you for being here. And I also want to thank Delegate Brooke Learman. I hear that she is here as well. Yes, thank you for being here as well. I want to speak briefly about those of you who have offered your leadership and support for this meeting. Some have knocked doors with me, sent out emails. I really want to thank you for your commitment to community engagement and making sure that this was an impactful meeting. We all know that the last few months for this city have been extremely rough for everyone. And it's really tested the resolve of our city. But I was just speaking with some reporters out there before I came in, and I said, just because the battle is tough, it doesn't mean you give up. That's not what we're made of in Baltimore. There are plenty of cities that are going through tough times right now. But one thing for sure is that we are resilient, and we're committed to continue to work for better in our city. We are also focused on making sure that we're looking for opportunities for the community to come together. We launched the One Baltimore initiative a few months ago, and the steering committee is up and running, and we're looking for ways to engage on solving some of our long-term or systemic issues and bringing the community together in different ways, just like we did to close that gap on youth employment this summer. We had a gap of about 3,000 jobs and placements for young people for the Hire One Youth and the YouthWorks program. And after the riots and the unrest, the community came together in an unprecedented way to close that gap and to make sure that every young person that signed up had an opportunity, had a chance to participate in the youth employment. And I know that whatever the issue is, and I say that there are plenty of tough problems that we have to tackle in our city, but there's no obstacle that we can't overcome when we decide to work together. And that's what this is about for me this evening, finding ways that we can work together to make government work better for the people that we serve and to make sure that we're getting it right. And if we're not, we're here to make it right. My agency heads are here to answer your questions. We're here to take suggestions. We're here to hear from you. We definitely have to focus on these long-term systemic issues that have plagued our communities and cities throughout the country for decades. But we also need to be mindful of the immediate needs or the urgent needs of the community, and hopefully we'll be able to strike the right balance as well. We're working very hard to improve our communities, whether it's through the $1 billion in school construction money, our 21st Century School initiative or the Hire One Youth or the rec center capital plan that will build new recreation centers throughout the city. We're focused on improving the quality of life for Baltimore families throughout the city. And I am sure that if we continue to work hard together, we're going to continue to see success. You know, while far too many of us, well, not even us, I think a lot of times it comes from outside of the city or focused on the negative, we have a lot of things to be proud about our city. You know, over the past 5 years, we've been able to drive unemployment down by a third, creating 12,000 new jobs. And because we have that momentum, even more opportunities are being created. We've been successful with our vacancy to value blight elimination plan and eliminating 3,000 vacant properties, whether they've been demolished or rehabbed. Over 3,000 have been addressed, taking a real chunk out of the long-standing issue that we've had with vacant and blighted properties. It is because of these efforts that have been successful that I felt confident launching the latest initiative, which is our municipal trash cans. I was very proud that we had the pilot program in two neighborhoods that really showed progress, and it showed us that we could do better when it came to trash complaints, when it came to citations for neighbors, when it came to rat abatement, that it was possible to do better. And I was very proud earlier this week to announce that municipal trash can program will be going citywide and give everyone an opportunity to participate as well. So we are here tonight because we're focused on making our city safer, making our city cleaner, making our city healthier, and doing it in strong collaboration with each and every one of you. We want to hear your concerns and understand. We all know that the problems that Baltimore has and so many other cities have, those problems didn't evolve overnight. And while we might not fix them overnight, I think that we can continue to fight for progress every single day. You know the government can't do it alone, that the community can't do it alone, but again, when we work together, I don't think there's any problem that we can't solve. So during tonight's meeting, I want to give you the opportunity to meet the members of my cabinet so you can directly ask them questions about what you're seeing in your neighborhood and about how we can work together better. I'm going to turn it over to Gus so he can go over the format and we will get started. Thank you all again very much for coming out tonight.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Actually, we have a brief presentation for the new president. We'd like to present the citation. Yes, ma'am. We're going to ask that you join us at the mic, Madam Mayor, and President Bill. Yes. Oh, there he is.
How are you? You were looking all official, like you were part of the detail. All right. I'm sorry, I forgot all about this. I want to present the City of Baltimore Certificate of Recognition. On behalf of the citizens of Baltimore, I am pleased to present this certificate to President Bill Heiser in recognition of your hosting this evening's Mayor's Cabinet in the Community for Council District 1 and District 1 residents, and for Cristo Rey Jesuit School's continuous support of the local community. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We wanted to make sure that we acknowledge Mr. Heiser and his leadership. Everyone here has been very hospitable. Next up, we will hear remarks from your councilman, Councilman Jim Kraft.
Thank you, Gus, and thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for joining us here today. Thank you for bringing the cabinet out. We really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, you hear from me all the time. You see me, you see my staff. We're out in the neighborhood all the time. We don't get this opportunity very often to have a chance to talk with the mayor, to have a chance to have her department heads here, where if she can't answer the question, she can turn to them and say, tell the folks what's going on and tell the folks how you're going to solve their problems or help them solve their problems, or how we can all work together to make this work better for the city, as she just said. So I want to thank her. I want to thank our friends at Cristo Rey for continuing to help us as they do year in and year out. And I don't want to take any more of the time because I want to leave it all here for the mayor. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilman. As many of you know, you've been asked to complete a survey each month before we actually facilitate or host a Cabinet in the Community event. We ask residents from that particular district to complete a survey so that we can hear about the issues that matter most to you. I applaud the efforts of your community liaison from the mayor's office. Her name is Anna Mudd. I'm going to ask that you give her a round of applause. She has been an awesome asset to the office. She led a crime walk last night with the community leaders. I thought I saw Rachel earlier, but she and Madam Mayor were outlet. I thought I saw her hand. Last night had a great community walk where we talked about some of those same issues. So I would like to present Ms. Anna Mudd, and she will give a brief presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Before I begin, I just want to thank the community associations and neighborhood associations for really blasting this survey out to their communities and their neighbors. I think within an hour of sending it out to our community association presidents and leaders, we got well over 100 survey responses back. So thank you so much for that. I also want to thank the Fells Prospect Community Association. A few weeks ago, you guys led a canvass in your neighborhood, and it was really successful. We had a really high contact rate, so thank you so much. So turning it over, we'll start with, basically our strategy for this was to reach as many people as possible. So we blasted the survey out to the communities. We collected a lot of feedback, and you can see some pictures up there of us walking in the communities throughout Southeast Baltimore. Basically, we asked, it was a very simple survey. We just asked residents what their top priorities were, and they were offered a multiple choice, essentially, of whether it was sanitation, housing, public safety, education and youth opportunities, drug treatment, employment or jobs, or transportation and infrastructure. And we also gave residents an opportunity to share their feedback, their concerns, or their thoughts, and we definitely read every single one of your comments. A few of them, they covered a wide range of topics, but we got a lot of responses about trash, police. We got a lot of feedback on transportation. A few people were advocating for bicycle lanes, so that was pretty interesting. And a few people left their contact information, and we followed up with each of them individually, and we're still working on that. So if you left your name and phone number, you can expect a phone call from me in the next few days. So here are the survey results, and let's see. The number one priority for District 1 residents was public safety at 43.9%. That was the number one concern. That was followed by sanitation at 19.7%, and then the third number one priority was transportation and infrastructure at 15.2%. So those were the big takeaways from this survey. Again, we're going through all of your responses right now. We're collecting feedback, and we look forward to hopefully addressing a lot of these concerns this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. And now, Madam Mayor, I will hand it over to you, and you can introduce your agency heads.
Thank you very much, Gus. I am asking all of my agency heads to do the Twitter version of their introduction. We want to give a chance for residents to ask questions that want to ask them in the big session and understand, and I hope you understand the way that this is going. We have this session, which is the larger session, and then we have the breakout sessions where each agency will have, each agency head will be in a room with their team to address specific issues. All right, so we're good. Twitter version, we'll go through and then we'll open up the mics. Thank you. I'll start with Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. I'm Dale Thompson, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Department of Public Works, and I'm here representing Director Rudy Chow, who sends his regrets that he is unable to be here. The Department of Public Works is responsible for providing some of the highest quality water, as well as providing trash and recycling collection and keeping our streets clean. It is our purpose to make sure that we provide you with quality water and trash pickup. This evening, we are looking forward to being able to answer all of your questions, and hopefully we will be able to provide you with the service that you've come to expect from the City of Baltimore. Thank you so much. And one other thing, on September 19th, we will be having our Montebello celebration, and we hope that all of you will attend. Thank you so much.
Good evening. I'm William Johnson, Director of the Department of Transportation for Baltimore City. The Department of Transportation provides maintenance and construction activity for our infrastructure, our roads and our bridges, walkways and footways, street lights. We also manage the traffic and traffic systems throughout the city, parking enforcement, the circulator, the water taxi, just a whole host of things that affect people's everyday lives. I have Team DOT here. If you'll stand up here in the front and in the rear so people can see you. Please stand up, raise your hand, something. They're all here tonight and will be available to answer questions during the breakout session. So come and join us on the third floor with your questions. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Niles Ford, and I'm your local friendly neighborhood fire chief. I'm in charge of the over 1,700 fantastic public safety employees of this organization, and our goal is to encourage the greatest level of fire suppression, EMS, and several other safety and public safety components, such as we have water rescue, we have high angle rescue, and several other components within our organization. Part of my job is to make sure that our folks are as prepared for their job as possible. In fact, we have, since William Johnson introduced his people, will my people please wave back at me? As you can see, there you go. So we brought a large contingency of individuals to answer any questions that you might have. Our goal is to make sure that we provide a public safety level of fire EMS coverage, public education that is second to none in the country.
Okay. How's this? I always hate following the fire chief. My name is Kevin Davis. I'm the interim police commissioner for your police department, and in the spirit of introducing our folks, the other leaders who get the job done for the city of Baltimore, can the BPD commanders and other police officers raise your hands? You guys are already standing up. And I see my good friend Ed, many years. So in the interest of the Twitter version of introductions, I too was asked the same question the mayor was asked on the way in about optimism. And the truth of the matter is, if your leaders and city government weren't optimistic people, then we're in the wrong business. So in spite of a challenging summer, I remain optimistic, and I remain optimistic about the crime fight and about the community collaboration, because I know our only way out of it is to work with our community partners, to work with the people in this room who take time out of their busy Thursday nights to be here, to work with other law enforcement partners throughout the state and region. And I know we'll look back at the summer of 2015 one day and really be proud of how we conducted ourselves in this moment and how we fought our way out of it. So I look forward to fighting our way out of it with everyone in this room. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Bill Vondrasek. I'm the Deputy Director of the Department of Recreation and Parks, and I'm here on behalf of Director Ernest Burkeen And we just finished up a very successful summer camp season where we had 3,000 young summer campers. And we're winding down our summer swim season, which was also very successful. We've had a couple of new programs which you might have tried over in Patterson Park, our Teen Night, which is on Wednesday nights, and our Twilight Swim for adults. And the Department of Recreation and Parks is responsible for Semaglia Park, Patterson Park, of course, Canton Waterfront Park, Joseph Lee, and Thames Street are some of the parks in the district. And then, of course, Patterson Rec Center, and then we have Mora Crossman. And in addition to the pool in Patterson, we have the pool at O'Donnell Heights. Thank you.
It's on? Good evening, everyone. My name is Jason Perkins Cohen. I'm the director of the Mayor's Office of Employment Development. As the name of the agency would suggest, we help people get jobs. We help people access training to help them get jobs and even better jobs. We help them access services so that they can reduce barriers to employment and training. And we also oversee the summer youth employment program, Youth Works and Hire One Youth, that the mayor spoke about, where we were able to help 8,000 youth make sure they were offered a job this summer. And I want to thank everyone here because it was a total team effort, as the mayor said. And I very much look forward to talking with you during the session and afterwards. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paul Graziano. I'm the Executive Director of the Housing Authority of Baltimore City and the Commissioner of Housing for the city. We have in the Housing Authority, we provide housing at an affordable rate for 26,000 households in this city, throughout the city. We, at the Housing and Community Development side of the shop, we administer a number of federal grants, including the Community Development Block Grant Program, the Home Program, and others, lead abatement and so forth. We also are the codes agency for the city. We administer the building code and the housing code for the city. We also are engaged in a lot of work under the Vacancy to Value program the mayor referenced. We're doing a lot of demolition, a lot of whole block demolition, and also a lot of working with private investors to renovate long-term vacant houses. So as the mayor said, over 3,000 properties that were severely blighted, many for decades, are now back online. And there's a long pipeline of projects that we're working on. So I'm very, very, very optimistic about our progress there. We also have a number of programs to help current homeowners, like weatherization programs and programs targeted to seniors. We have a boiler or furnace replacement program to replace oil-burning furnaces or boilers with gas. It's a wonderful opportunity where people are actually saving in excess of $900 a year by that replacement. We'll work with seniors on making their homes safer in terms of avoiding trips and falls. So there's a whole range of programs for people who are currently who need assistance in their current homes. We do a lot of development work. In this district, we're doing a major redevelopment project at O'Donnell Heights. And just to the east of here, we're beginning a planning process. We're well into a planning process, actually, for Perkins Homes redevelopment. So there are a whole range of activities, and we kind of touch all dimensions related to housing and community development.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Lena Wen. I'm the Baltimore City Health Commissioner, and I'm also a proud resident just 4 blocks away from here, so I'm glad to be back in my first council district. In our health department, we believe that health is tied to everything. That if a child is having difficulties breathing and has to miss school because of asthma, they're not going to be able to learn. that if someone has seen so much trauma that they can't focus on learning, then that's going to impact everything else in their lives as well. So we do a whole range of services for our youth. We do immunizations, we do school health. We focus also on substance abuse and mental health. We believe that we can each save a life today if we're trained in the medication naloxone so that we can save people who are dying from overdoses. And we protect those in our city who are the most vulnerable. We protect our seniors, and we also watch out for the welfare of our animal residents in the city as well. So I just want to acknowledge our health department team. If all of you will stand, they are around to answer your questions as they protect the health and welfare of the city. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerome Mullen, and I am the city's Chief Technology Officer and also the Director of the Mayor's Office of Information Technology. And I'm responsible for supporting the city's personal computers, email services, the website, CCTV, and other critical public safety systems. But also part of my responsibility is the city's 311 call taking service. And that's one of the primary reasons why I'm here. People always have questions about 311. Does it work? How does it work? And we're here today to answer some of those questions. We can also take service requests and look up the status of pending service requests that you might have. So my team is right on this floor in the back. You guys can stand up for me. Where you at? So I'll be back there with my team to answer questions about 311 and any other questions you may have about information technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, members of the Cabinet. There are also other members of the Cabinet who are joining with us on the first and second row, members of the Mayor's senior team. And Madam Mayor, I don't know, but I think this may be the first tradition where we start having our teams all stand up. Maybe the Twitter version of introductions prompted that. Did you want to add anything, Madam Mayor, before we go into the Q&A? All right, so we're ready to begin the Q&A process. By the way, language translation services are available for those where English is not their proficient or first language. So those members, we are fully aware, and we certainly heard from a lot of residents in Council District 1, particularly those who speak Spanish for their first language, who wanted to make sure that we had that service available. So I just wanted to add that to Madam Mayor. And so we have a microphone on my right, your left, and you may be wondering why it's on a stand over there. This forum is being videotaped for Charm TV, and it's easier for our camera crews to have a stationary site for shooting the forum. And so there's a gentleman, his name is Demetrius Melisham, who is actually standing where the mic is. Those of you who have a question, I ask that you give your name and the neighborhood you represent, give us the question or comment, and we can direct it to the mayor or to one of the members of the cabinet, and we can go from there. We would like to get to the breakouts as soon as possible because there's a limited amount of time for us to be in this facility today. We're trying to be out by 9 p.m., Madam Mayor. That was the deal that we made with the president and his staff.
And I want to, again, just thank everyone, and with the understanding of time, I know that some of you have very specific questions that you want addressed, and the breakout sessions would probably be the best place to get to talk to the director, talk to staff, and get specific follow-up. So I'll take my lead from you. We'll open it up for general questions for as long as we can until we're running out of time for those breakout sessions where we can dive deep into the specific issues that you have.
All right. Raise your hand or join us at the microphone, or if you're ready to begin the breakout sessions, you can let us know by giving a round of applause. I'm all in. Oh, well, we do have, okay. Anyone else? Okay, two. Again, your name and the neighborhood you represent, and then we can go from there.
My name is Bridget Perlato. I'm a local resident. I'm a graphic designer. I have a business on the corner of Bank and Chester, and I run Baltimore Trash Talk, which is an anti-trash initiative because I got tired of trash in my neighborhood. Thank you, everyone, for coming here to my neighborhood. Thank you, Mayor, for coming down the block and shaking hands and recruiting people. I appreciate that. I do know that before you came through, they came through and swept. Now, I've been picking up trash in my neighborhood for a really long time. In fact, a few months ago, I did a project where I went out on 24 one-hour walks. 24 hours, I gathered almost 3,000 items. You can see this on Baltimore Trash Talk, and you can also like the page and keep track of what the trash is doing. Now, I understand a photo op, and I'm in marketing and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately, there's a lot of things that don't get done necessarily about trash, despite the fact that you guys are doing things about trash. There's a lot of talk about it in the neighborhoods. You're doing things like the municipal garbage cans is great. One of the things I'm wondering about is there any sort of take back or anything like that? When there was a cigarette law made years ago that we couldn't smoke inside, there was nothing done or nothing put into the law about how things were dealt with. So now they're all over the streets, and that's the #1 most littered item on the planet. You've also got the street sweeping, we have the trash wheel, but these are all end-of-the-line solutions. We're not doing really anything on the front end, which is, there's no incentive programs. We've had the bottle fee or a bottle bill that has gotten axed over and over again, but we've had 2 taxes put on beverages, which makes it hard to put a bottle deposit on there. Now, bottle deposits, you get the 5 cents when you bring the bottle back. I went down to Annapolis, and Senator Ferguson was supporting the new bottle legislation that's up for consideration. It did not get axed so far, but it went to an interim study in the summer. I also conducted 2 very large events on the corners of Patterson Park about a year ago. The first one, I gave away $700 for, and they brought back 15,000 bottles and cans, residents did. 6 months later, there were 52,000 bottles put in a big river on the corner of Patterson Park. So we gave away $2,600 at the time. People were surveyed, they want this. People were willing to come up and bring their stuff back and pay for it. So I'd really like to have some of these things considered and see and ask you guys why there are no support for these incentive programs like bag ban, styrofoam ban. These things are clearly being brought in by the trash wheel. They're clearly a problem in our streets. There's a huge apathy issue with trash. Right now, I'm designing I'm working with the Patterson Park Greening Partnership, designing a guide. And it's all about all the trash issues, how to do whatever, what's recyclable, all that kind of stuff. These people got a grant. They've got people working with them. They consulted with Baltimore Community Foundation, Banner Neighborhoods, Waterfront Partnership, all sorts of people from government. Robert Merle, there were people from rat abatement who were putting in on the content. I would encourage you to consider that when it's done, as far as also dispersing that citywide and taking it, like the cans, to other neighborhoods. If you guys could talk about some of these incentive programs and why they are not adopted. I know I was kicked out of City Hall for presenting the, I brought in the bags, 30 bags from my doorstep down to City Hall, and I left them there, and I got walked out and told that I would be ticketed for littering. And I said, I collected these while you guys axed the bag ban. I collected these on the way in. So I'm gonna let you guys address that.
Thank you very much for your question. And Madam Mayor, before you...
I was waiting to, I thought I was going to have a chance to respond. Is she still here? Yeah, so first, thank you for all that you do in the community. I'm sure you understand that this is about behaviors. We work very hard. I mean, our DPW solid waste team works around the clock to clean our city. And the frustrating part is when we've seen it, and I saw it when I was out on the walk, where the area's been cleaned up, and no sooner than it's clean than bags of trash and mattresses and things are thrown again. These items aren't coming from Essex. They're not coming from Florida. They're not coming from Mars. They are coming from your neighbors. And the issue is we have to do a better job of educating about the impact of trash. And there are incentives. Under my administration, we did the community cleanup where we offered four $1,000, is it $5,000 or $1,000? But there was $4,000, $5,000 prizes for the community association that had the most improvement when it comes to reduction of trash and increase in recycling. And we set these different parameters up to try to create incentives for people to care about litter and trash, but this has to be a collaboration, and it's going to take more people like you who are willing to roll up their sleeves and do things like what the Sustainability Commission is doing with their grassroots effort they say it's talking trash, where they're going neighborhood by neighborhood to do these education programs. I know Recreation and Parks is going to get in on the act, and they're going to help us with recycling education, so we can try to get, sometimes the children lead the parents, and we're trying to get them some information. I know my daughter is getting it from her school and bringing it home and working to help us recycle, but it's not perfect, but it's So I used to be in the legislature, but the council is controlling that process now with the legislation. I would say that we're working very hard to address it. I hear you that there needs to be more, and we're certainly willing to work with you to create more incentives so we can change the behavior. Because it's about changing the behavior of the entire population, and we're certainly... Okay, so we're going to try to leave some space for a few other questions. All right.
So, Madam Mayor, before we go to the next question, because it is now just about 8 o'clock and we want to definitely get into the breakouts, I'm asking for a concise question. If you have a question about DPW, or let's say about sanitation, will we agree that we can continue the sanitation discussion during the breakouts so that we can go on into another subject? Is that okay, Madam Mayor? We have enough time for 3 more. We wanted to do more than 4.
We have 4 people in line. I
Yes.
think if we can get concise.
Very concise. If it's not about trash, then we can go to another subject. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Phyllis Fung. I live here in the Fells Prospect community. I will keep my question brief. I'm a marketing and business professional, and I live and die by the reports that I get on a weekly and monthly basis. And as we read just recently, there have been some issues with CityStat. And my question is, does the administration believe in CityStat or a similar program for metrics? What is the vision for that? Will there be communication of those metrics out to the community so that we can see progress as it's made? And what have you been using in the meantime, if they're given the issues that were pointed out in the Baltimore Sun? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions. I absolutely believe in CityStat, and there were changes made because the progress that I anticipated seeing in CityStat and the collaborative nature of CityStat has not evolved in the way that I had hoped it would. We are working very hard to be able to announce very shortly the changes that we will make. You should anticipate that announcement within the next 7 to 10 days. My goal is to bring more transparency transparency. A lot of what happens in city stat is a mystery to many people. I want to give more access to the public for the types of things that we're doing. And I also want to tie it to the work that we're doing around our, around our budget. We have outcome budgeting, which is the way most businesses do their budget, where it's not, you don't base your budget on whatever you spent last year, but it's on goals, and it's a zero-based budget where you state your goals and then you ask your teams to come together and put together proposals to meet those goals. So that's, we've had outcome budgeting for about 4 or 5 years, and I'm looking for ways to marry up that, the way that we can track for outcomes with city stat as well. So I would say, number one, I wasn't satisfied with the progress. That's why I made changes. And number two, within the next 7 to 10 days, you'll hear the plans moving forward. We've been using CityStat. It just has not been as robust as I would like, and that's why I made the changes.
Hi, my name is Zeke Cohen. I'm a resident of Canton, and I run a nonprofit in Highlandtown. And thank you all for being here with us tonight. I read in the Baltimore Sun this morning that we hit a very grim milestone in passing the murder rate of New York, which is a city several times our population. And 16 of the homicides have been young people. And as someone that works with youth, I find that incredibly disturbing and grim. As someone who's spending a lot of time walking around in neighborhoods, I'm not seeing officers out of cars. And that was something that Commissioner Davis, your predecessor, had promised, was that we were going to really invest in community policing. We were going to see officers walking the beat. We were going to see them out there. And as someone who's doing a lot of walking these days, I'm not seeing it at all. And one specific example, yesterday I was on East Ave, a whole bunch of kids out, a bunch of teenagers. Cruiser came through, never stopped, never rolled down the window, never got out, never engaged with any of the young folks that were there. And it seemed like an incredibly sad missed opportunity. So I'd like to know, what are the specific metrics that we're using to move toward community policing and to get our officers out of the cars? Thank you.
I'm going to give if I can get the mic just for a second. I just want to say that that grim milestone, when I talked about the fact that we're in a very tough time, that we're in a battle in our city right now on safety, it is a very grim statistic, because it's one of those things where, let's say if someone litters, we can pick it up, we can change it. If a life is lost, there's no do-over. And that's why this work is so urgent. And we know it's not just about arrests. It's not just a policing issue, especially when we talk about the young people. That's why I was so focused on making sure those young people had job opportunities, everyone that applied for summer work. And that's also why we dug deep into the budget and identified $4.2 million in additional resources that we're dedicating to young people and out of school time, so we can provide for more opportunities for our young people. We know that we have to continue every single day to look for better opportunities and more ways that we can serve our kids, whether it's through the new recreation center capital plan that I have, or through the work that we're doing to have more grassroots organizations participate in the funding for out-of-school time programming. We continue to look for innovative ways to engage with our young people, and we won't stop doing that. With respect to the patrols, I'm going to let the commissioner talk about that, because that is something that we're dedicated to, and I want to let him talk about the work that we're doing in that area.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. 2014 seems like a long time ago, but it wasn't. And in 2014, our homicide number in the city was the second best in decades. So here we find ourselves in 2015, and when we hit April of 2015, we were about on par with where we were last year. Then the unrest occurred, and we had challenges associated with our closure rates that we're still battling our way through, but we're not standing still. And I think I mentioned earlier that the only way to fight your way out of a crisis is to collaborate. So we've done that with the War Room, we've done that with BFED, and we're taking innovative approaches to people who have pulled triggers in this community and taken lives. So we think those strategies are in place. They're dynamic. We'll continue to adjust them daily, weekly, monthly, as we need to fight our way out of this moment with our homicides and our non-fatal shootings. The second part of the question regarding foot patrols, I have been a big advocate of foot patrols my entire career, but what I've learned is that a police officer in uniform engaging in a foot patrol is more of an art form than it is a science. So we did a pretty decent job of telling cops to get out of your cars for 30 minutes to 60 minutes a day and engage the community. The fact of the matter is, we did a good job telling them to do that. The fact of the matter is, we didn't teach them how to do that. And frankly, I think when you hit a certain age, you don't think you would have to teach someone how to engage in human interactions, but our profession is so enforcement-oriented, we sometimes find ourselves as police officers unable to communicate with people unless we're conducting an interview or an interrogation or making an arrest or a traffic stop. So that art form is something we need to do a better job at teaching our young 25, 26-year-old cops. I got excited the other day in the Southern District when I saw a police officer out on foot and he was speaking to a group of young people at a corner store. And he was laughing and they were laughing and everyone seemed to be having a great time. And I told the police officers I was with to pull over because this cop has got it right. He's doing it right. There's a foot patrol that's not just a foot patrol for the sake of a foot patrol, but they're talking. And I got out of the car and it was a 42-year veteran. And I talked to him for another half an hour. Why can't cops do this nowadays? And he told me, frankly, and he's almost old enough to be my father. He told me, frankly, he said, because you guys, leadership, assume that these young kids know how to do it, and they don't. So we're going to think of better and more innovative ways to teach these cops what to do when they're out of a car. But I hear you loud and clear. All right. Thank you.
Kurt Schiller, Upper Fells Point. I'm going to ask about a public safety issue and transportation. There's a street called South Wolf Street that runs through the center of our community. It's a downward grade for the whole entirety of our community. There are several traffic lights there, and people seem to accelerate to try to make the next light all the time. We're lucky we have not had a child at the Wolf Street Academy hit and struck and, possibly killed by a car yet. But we have had a car run into Taverns establishment on the corner of Bank and Wolf after a collision. There was just a couple cars just outside of Water for Chocolate, another restaurant. We're just really asking for fatalities there. An easy solution would be to take a couple of those traffic lights, make them blinking red, where everyone has to stop. I know this won't help get traffic out of Harbor East or away from Hopkins, but we have to remember this is our home. We live here because it's a walkable community. I do not want to be killed by a car coming down Wolf Street.
Thank you. Director Johnson.
Yes, thank you for bringing that to our attention. This is actually a location that we met with Councilman Kraft maybe about 3 weeks, maybe a month ago. And we've already initiated a study in that area to look at how we can slow traffic down, traffic calming, things that we're looking at doing, potentially adding stops so that it's not a throughway for traffic, but they would have to stop before they got to that light, and that may potentially also force them to slow down. So we have consultants that are looking at it, and we should have some suggestions that we'll be coming back to the community with here very shortly.
Thank you very much, Director.
Good evening. My name is Elder Keisha Jones. I'm the founder of EP International Ministries Incorporated. And our goal is to strengthen the bonds between Baltimore City Police, Baltimore City Public Schools, and the youth. And a lot of times we say that the youth are our future, but they're our right now. And it's easy to point the finger and to attend this wonderful community meeting, and it's easy to point the finger and say what you all are not doing. But oftentimes when there's a finger pointed, there are four coming back at us. So I want to know, what is it that we can do as local residents to assist you and your administration and the cabinet members here? What is it that local community members can do other than being physically here with you all tonight? It's easy to sit here and take, what you're saying, but when the rubber meets the road, what is it that we can do, like to empower our youth, to empower your administration and what you're doing and putting in place? How can we be more involved and more committed to making those things happen?
Thank you very much. The best thing for me about Cabinet and the community is the people who want to be engaged, the people who want to look for solutions are the ones who come out. And that's why I'm excited about starting the breakout session, so we can start to get some of those ideas and to hear. That's why I was, at every time we do a public safety forum, I give out a survey so I can hear specifically from people. Even if they don't want to get up and publicly ask a question, they can give us suggestions. And I take them very seriously. When we did the public safety forums, I heard loud and clear from people. Even in the year where we had the second lowest number of homicides, I heard very loud and clear that there were issues around trust, there were issues around accountability, and that's what led me to push for reforms when it comes to use of force. It motivated my fight for reforms to the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights. That came from members of the community. So my hope is that in these breakout sessions, we'll be giving our best effort and our best thoughts for ways that we can work together better. Again, I know that this is, I spend a lot of time going around to the roll calls to talk to police officers, because I know they need a word of encouragement and to know how grateful we are for their service. And the thing I talk about is that we are in a tough time, but we have to remember that that's when we are called to work together closer and to work together harder to get us through. That's what I just feel like sometimes we forget the grit and the resolve that we have as Baltimoreans. And that's what we have to dig deep and call on to come together as a community to get through this. So I'm eager to hear the feedback from the breakout sessions, and I'm extremely grateful that so many of you took the time out of your busy schedules. I know everybody is busy. I'm extremely grateful that you spent some time with us this evening, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you in the breakout sessions. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You have a question?
Yes. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us. And this is my opportunity to talking about public transportation. I am using the public transportation. I usually ride the bus. And sometimes it's for me very hard to see so many families, they have children or they are seniors, and sometimes the bus schedule, they are not following. Sometimes the bus is running late, and this is very, very often. And this is hard for me because sometimes it's hot weather and the bus is not coming. And sometimes when the bus is coming, it's so full, so there is no more space. And then the bus running away, so we couldn't catch the bus because it's so full. So this is very often, and I was living in Milwaukee, Chicago, Illinois, and the bus and the public transportation, they're in the right time. There is no, there is no late for buses. I mean, it's very hard because in wintertime it's awful to be outside and to wait for 30 minutes, 1 hour a bus. So I think so it's not only for me. I heard so many, I have so many Latino friends and families, and sometimes they don't have a car, and it's hard for them to get in time for their jobs. So that's my question. So I know they are working very hard to put a new lines or to change a new routes. I know I saw some improve, but why is different from this state to other state? that public transportation, they're never running late or whatever. So I don't know why is any problem with that, or what are you doing to improve that? That's my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your question. And it was because of the fact that I know, number one, clearly not every family in our city has a car. And we don't want everyone to have a car. We want to have a more public transportation friendly community. We know that a lot of millennials that are moving into the city many of them don't even have a driver's license because they're not attached to their cars. So it is because I know how valuable and how vital public transportation is to so many families, is why I was so disappointed when I went to the Secretary of Transportation's meeting to talk about the Red Line and to talk about public transportation, and basically all we got is that they would work to make the buses run on time. You know, that it's very clear that the obligation, the Maryland state law is very clear that the obligation for public transportation and public transportation infrastructure lies within the jurisdiction of the state. And we are fighting like HE double hockey sticks to make sure that they understand that they can't absolve themselves of that obligation. They have to come through and provide transformative public transportation opportunities. You know, they scrapped the Red Line without any plans for what would replace it. The Red Line was more than transportation. It was hope, it was jobs, it was economic development. And now the best we can do is say, to get a commitment without any commitment of any dollars, that they would work to make the buses more efficient. Baltimore City residents deserve more. And you have my personal commitment, and people can say what they want. They can say, I don't want to get along with the governor, and they can say whatever, but I'm going to continue to fight, because we deserve nothing less in Baltimore City than to get the public transportation that your Maryland tax dollars pay for.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm ready to go to breakout. Anybody else ready to go to breakout? All right. Thank you very much.